All right, quick question. Am I the only one that loves and misses the touch bar on the MacBook Pros? Well, maybe. Yo, my name is Morris, and you're probably wondering, why am I talking about an almost decade-old laptop in 2025? Well, the reason for this is actually to answer a very simple question that can be at times a bit complex. The question is, do you always need to upgrade to the latest and greatest MacBooks? To answer this question, we're going to take a look at Apple's MacBook Pro 15-inch from 2016 and see if this computer holds up in 2025. So when it comes to this specific MacBook configuration that I have, well, I have the MacBook with the Intel Core i7 processor. Furthermore, it has 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of saving space. For me, it's pretty perfect. I have good enough saving space for all my videos and things I need in my documents. And the RAM is actually fast enough for those somewhat high intense works I tend to do in CapCut, for instance. So why do I have an almost decade-old MacBook in 2025? Well, the thing is, I bought this laptop in March 2024 of last year. I bought it for around 6,000 Norwegian kroners, which is approximately 512 USD, or you could go to 510 euros. The idea of buying this computer at first was not to edit videos or create anything content-wise or to do anything creative. It was actually for more daily uses. You know what it is: watching YouTube, watching movies, browsing Safari, looking at websites, just basic daily stuff. And for that, this computer is amazing. So the quick answer is, if you need a computer just to do daily tasks, you don't really need the latest M1, M2, or M Max MacBooks. But the question then becomes, what if you want to actually start video and photo editing professionally, or at least try to be professional like I'm doing right now with YouTube? Can this MacBook actually hold up 10 years later? Well, that is the question. Let's find out. Let's start with the design. In 2016, Apple introduced this new sleek design for the MacBooks. And this MacBook Pro was actually the first version to have this design that every other MacBook had actually imitated years later. This design has aged well. The thin bezels around the screen and the minimalistic aesthetics are still competitive with today's laptops. The biggest design shift in 2016 was the introduction of the touch bar, which I absolutely love. You see, the touch bar at the time replaced the traditional function keys, and as of now, the touch bar has been replaced by those function keys. And of course, there are reasons as to why Apple did this. I mean, the consumers had spoken. But for me personally, I really enjoy the touch bar. And the reason for that is, honestly, it looks so futuristic, it looks so advanced, and it actually makes this thing stand out compared to other MacBooks, even the newer ones. I wished Apple could at least give us the option on the newest MacBooks to have a choice either to go with the touch bar or the traditional function keys. Now, obviously, this would impact Apple's cost system, but I think for us consumers who actually enjoy and misses the touch bar, it could be an idea. So design-wise, I feel this MacBook really holds up. The keyboard, however, now that is a bit more controversial. The butterfly mechanism keyboard is thin and responsive, but it's notorious for reliability issues. Keys can become sticky, unresponsive over time, and repairs can be costly. Now, personally, I haven't really experienced any of those issues as of now. Now, keep in mind, I mostly have used this MacBook for regular daily uses, so it all depends on your usability. But for me, it hasn't been an issue, but I know for a fact that the butterflies issue from MacBooks previously have had a huge issue. So if you're looking for a MacBook, you have to keep this in mind, that maybe steer towards, at least if you're tapping a lot, steer towards the MacBooks with a different kind of keyboard solution than these ones with the Apple Silicon. One of the things I really love about using a MacBook, even an old MacBook, it's integration into the Apple's ecosystem. Being able to easily just swap from your phone to your computer or from your computer to your phone, looking up websites is such a blast. AirPlay is such a blast. Like honestly, once you're in the Apple's bubble and ecosystem where you have a Apple TV, a MacBook, Apple Watch, and an iPhone, that the seamlessness between these devices are just amazing. Even being able to just connect your AirPods Maxes to your computer, it just seems as well. Now, the second thing I love about this MacBook is its 15-inch screen. Now, technically, this screen is 15.4 inches in size, and the display is just amazing. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't have promotion as the newest MacBook Pro has, but what this thing has, it has a super vivid and great screen for everyday uses. Now, obviously, if you're editing crazy 4K pictures that need color correction at super high details, I won't pick this MacBook to do that on. But if you're just watching regular content, YouTube, movies, this MacBook holds up very, very well. And I feel like most often, if you are to be editing those crazy high color corrections, you're probably going to be doing it on a monitor anyway. So which means this MacBook doesn't really impact your color correction on your monitor. Another thing I really enjoy about the 2016 MacBook, because of its huge vastness, is the big touchpad. For some reason, I absolutely love this touchpad. It's just big and massive and just creates more support and area to work around with. The issue with these smaller MacBooks, even though they are more portable, is that they have such small trackpads, and for guys with huge fingers as mine, I tend to mess up a bit. But this huge trackpad really just makes it easy for me to do my daily works on it. Another highlight, honestly, is actually the performance of this MacBook. It really took me out a little bit because when I got this MacBook, keep in mind, my only goal was to use this for simple tasks, and obviously for simple tasks like YouTube, watching movies, surfing, it does a fantastic job, even compared to the newest, latest MacBooks. But where this thing actually surprised me was the performance when it comes to video editing, photo editing, and even more high demanding tasks in CapCut, for instance. Now, under the hood, 2016 MacBook Pro 15-inch is powered by Intel 7th generation quad-core processor. At the time, these chips were cutting edge in the market, but as of today, it isn't quite impressive compared to the M1 and M2 and M3 chips that Apple has released. And at first, when I began to actually edit videos for YouTube on this thing, I remember being so frustrated because at first I thought the issues was the laptop itself, the MacBook itself, but come to realize that I actually had to update some of the software issues that I was getting on the apps that I was using. So even though it might seem that it's super slow, it's actually held up pretty well for me when it comes to editing wise. Now, obviously, even with those highlights in performance, this MacBook is almost 10 years old. So it does has its issues. So one of the main issues that I have noticed is its thermal throttling. This thing is so goddamn loud when you're doing high intense work in CapCut and editing stuff. This, of course, is a stark contrast to the more newer MacBooks who are basically just super silent, especially those MacBook Airs. Honestly, you can't really hear anything working on those newer models. Then the question becomes, well, you have price and what you need. Another major issue that I've really had with this MacBook is its portability. Now, remember, this thing right here is a 15-inch MacBook. It's quite big, weighing around 1.5 kilograms. So portability for this thing isn't really at its best. Now, obviously, it does fit in most bags. You can put it in a bag and carry it around, but just the feel of having it in your hand is a bit heavy and is a bit noticeable. But you have to compare that with the amazing size when it comes to just using it as a huge screen. One downside note is the lack of port variety. The 2016 model only has 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports and a headphone jack, which means you likely need adapters for HDMI or standard USB devices. So, is the 2016 MacBook Pro 15-inch worth it in 2025? And do we as consumers always need to upgrade? Well, the answer is both yes and no. It all depends on actually what you are going to use your computer for. So, when I started off using this computer, it was mainly going to be used for light work. Personally, I still use this as my daily driver, and as of now, all the videos I've made has been with using this laptop, and it has worked for me. But maybe at some point down the line, I will need to upgrade. Ultimately, the 2016 MacBook Pro is still a well-designed and functional machine, but just be aware of its limitations. So what do you guys think about Apple's MacBook from 2016, the 15-inch? Let me know in the comment section. Do you have it yourself, or are you more into the M1 silicon chip that Apple has been using lately? And if so, which MacBook are you currently using right now? Leave your comments in the comment section. And finally, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps out the channel. And hey, why don't you subscribe as well? Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Peace.